Do you know someone who is functional on the outside, but fractured on the inside? Protesting. Is it changing anything? Let's start thinking differently. If protests really worked, there would be visible change. We are still protesting. There has been no change. Actually, things have been getting worse. Why? Because when we are anti something, whatever we are anti has to exist. Healing with the Rev podcast is going to bring you comfort, build community, and give you some inspiration to move forward. Pro peace. For those of you who are old enough to remember who Mother Teresa was, Mother Teresa during the Vietnam War was asked to come to an anti-war rally. She said, I will not be there, but when you have a peace rally, invite me, I will come. She understood the difference between anti whatever and peace. So let's be for peace. And peace does not mean sitting on your butt doing nothing. It's very active. I'm Reverend Teresa Heipel. I am your host of Healing with the Rev podcast. I have lost loved ones to death. I am here to honor your faith tradition, and here you can find peace, calm, and clarity. Peace starts with community building, one person at a time, standing for something rather than against something. When we stand for, we're taking a stance for what we want. Anti-war, anti-ICE, or whatever is going on today as you are listening to this, whatever we are anti really does have to exist. We're giving power over to whatever it is we are wanting to not exist. If we want to abolish something, we need to be pro whatever that is. For this, we want pro peace. We want to be for peace. I don't think anyone would argue with me about that, but they haven't changed their mindset from something negative to something positive. So let's build something positive in this world. Peace building starts with faith. Whatever your faith is, whether it's Christian, Jewish, Islam, or anything else, I say have a faith in a higher power somewhere, because life gets difficult. And when life gets difficult, sometimes we don't know what to do with that. Building with faith, people are coming together. They're learning together. They're expounding their beliefs. They're expounding justice. And aren't we all wanting social justice? Seriously. Drum circles. It's a great way to release pent-up emotions. At my church, we have a drum circle. And when I go there, I can pound on the djembe drums, as you'll see on this picture. There's a lot of djembe drums. It's a great way because you can come up with your own rhythm and you can come up with your own chant in your head. It's pretty awesome. The podcast format, we're going to have real stories. I'm probably going to be talking more than doing interviews. I have a lot of experience in a lot of different things. I'm going to give you some practical tips and some uplifting interviews as we go along. Expressions of heartache, honoring our pain. This woman is feeling the weight of her loss. Whatever that loss is, she is not sure she wants to face reality. Sometimes reality is really difficult because reality is not someplace where we want to be. But we are here and we are now. And if you're listening to this, you're paying attention. So you are present in this moment. She appears to be afraid to see what is in front of her, whether she lost a spouse or a friend or a child or lost a job, gone into retirement, doesn't know what to do with her time. There's so many different kinds of ways of heartache, so many expressions of heartache. And whatever you're feeling, know that you are in great company and everything you feel is all good. And so I would ask you to continue to watch these podcasts because they're going to be informative. Some of them are about loss of some sort. Some of them are about these protests and peace and how we can move forward. Honor yourself by doing what is right for you in the moment. Today, we're going to talk about the US and Iran, because this is what's happening in our country right now. The US is not historically at war with Iran in the traditional sense, but in 2026, which is this year, a major military conflict has erupted after years of escalating tensions over Iran's nuclear program, regional influence, and attacks involving US allies. Here's a simplified explanation. First of all, the immediate trigger is the 2026 escalation. On February 28th, 2026, the US and Israel launched airstrikes on Iran targeting military and nuclear sites. The strikes reportedly killed Iran's supreme leader and damaged military infrastructure, dramatically escalating tensions. Today, we're going to talk about a nervous system reset. And I think a lot of us, our nervous systems are not regulated right now because of things that are going on in our world. We are not historically at war with Iran. We, meaning the US. The United States is not historically at war with Iran in the traditional sense, but this year in 2026, a major military conflict has erupted after years of escalating tensions over Iran's nuclear program, regional influence, and attacks involving U.S. allies. The media trigger right now in 2026 escalation. On February 28th, 2026, the U.S. and Israel launched airstrikes on Iran targeting military and nuclear sites. The strikes reportedly killed Iran's supreme leader and damaged military infrastructure, dramatically escalating tensions. Iran retaliated with missiles and drones against U.S. bases and allies across the Middle East. That back and forth retaliation is now turned into the current warlike situation. The core issue is Iran's nuclear program. For years, the U.S. and its allies have feared that Iran might build nuclear weapons. Key points: Iran has enriched uranium to levels close to weapons grade, raising international concerns. The U.S. demanded Iran limit nuclear enrichment and missile development. Negotiations repeatedly failed or stalled, increasing the risk of military action. The U.S. justification for strikes is largely preventing Iran from becoming a nuclear-armed state. Number 3, Iran's regional alliances and proxy groups. Another major reason for conflict. Iran supports or is aligned with groups that fight U.S. allies, including Hezbollah, which is Lebanon, militias in Iraq and Syria, and groups hostile to Israel. These groups have attacked U.S. bases and allies, increasing pressure for retaliation. Number 4, decades of tension leading up to this. The hostility didn't start recently. It goes back over 45 years. The 1979 Iranian Revolution, Iran's new government became strongly anti-U.S. Sanctions and proxy conflicts followed for decades. Nuclear disputes and regional power struggles kept tensions high. So the current fighting is really the latest escalation in a long rivalry. The U.S. says it is trying to stop Iran from developing nuclear weapons and limits its military influence. Iran says it is defending itself against foreign attacks and Western pressure. Each side views the other as a major security threat. Now, if this has not got your nervous system dysregulated, then I don't know what would dysregulate your nervous system. But a lot of us are nervous about what's going on because we have been at war in Iran before. And in 1979, I was in junior high, and there was a woman from Iran that lived in my town in North Dakota, and her sister and husband and children came to our small little town in North Dakota. And those kids graduated from our high school. They learned English so fast. It was just fascinating with everything that was going on at the time. It looks like we're making like another full circle again. We're back in Iran again. Most experts say we are not on the brink of a world war, but the risk is higher than normal because several powerful countries have interests tied to the conflict. Here's the realistic picture. Number 1, what a world war would actually require. A world war usually happens when multiple major powers fight each other directly. For example, the US, China, Russia, NATO countries. At the moment, the main combatants are Iran versus Israel and the United States. Fighting has spread regionally with strikes in nearby countries and attacks on shipping routes. Missile strikes and retaliations are already affecting Gulf states and US bases in the region. But most major powers are still staying out militarily. Number 2, the biggest escalation risks. The conflict could grow into something much bigger if any of these happen. Russia or China enters the war directly. Iran has strategic ties with both countries. If either one sent troops or attacked U.S. forces, the conflict could expand quickly. Right now, they are mostly criticizing the war, pushing diplomacy, and avoiding direct military involvement. That was A. B. NATO gets pulled in. If Iran directly attacks a NATO country or U.S. homeland, the alliance could respond collectively. For example, Iran has already targeted U.S. installations and regional allies, but attacks have stayed mostly in the Middle East region so far. C. Nuclear weapons enter the picture. This is a scenario everyone fears. If Israel felt existentially threatened or Iran developed or used a nuclear device, then escalation could spiral quickly. At the moment, no nuclear weapons have been used. What analysts say is more likely? Most geopolitical experts believe the conflict will become one of these instead. A regional Middle East war, Iran, Israel, U.S. forces, proxy militias, Gulf states, or a prolonged shadow war, cyber attacks, drone strikes, proxy conflicts, economic warfare. Cyber attacks and proxy warfare are already happening. When we come back from the break, we're going to find out more about this. We're going to continue this conversation, and I'm going to talk to you a little about how to regulate your nervous system when we come back. The Great Soul Awakening, Transforming Pain into Purpose and Healing Your Soul at its Core by Reverend Teresa Heipel, Master of Divinity Counseling. The Great Soul Awakening is going to bring you profound healing of deep-seated wounds or traumas, understanding your unique mission or purpose for this lifetime, and embracing transformation. The state of the soul today is traumatic. We have grief. We have grieving. We have loss of self, toxic relationships, addictions, betrayal, loss of status, spiritual crisis. But spiritual crisis is a form of identity crisis where an individual experiences drastic changes to their meaning systems, like their unique purposes, goals, values, attitudes, and beliefs, identity, and focus, typically because of a spontaneous spiritual experience. A spiritual crisis may cause significant disruption in psychological, social, and occupational function. Your soul is calling you. Are you listening? You feel unfulfilled, repeating emotional patterns, seeking deeper meaning in life, experiencing restlessness. These are signs that you are ready for a soul awakening. Consequences of ignoring your soul: anxiety, depression, chronic patterns, and disconnection from relationships. If you're experiencing any of that, you need the Great Soul Awakening. Awakening your soul brings peace, clarity, and transformation. To book your discovery call to see what's going on with your life so I can listen to you and see if it's possible that this program may help you, please scan the QR code and book your discovery call today. It's a 30-minute call. No need to purchase anything. This is not a sales call. It's me just listening to you to see what you need and if there's some way that I can be of service to you. Welcome back. Why the whole world still cares. Even without a world war, the impact is global. For example, the Strait of Hormuz, where about 20% of the world's oil passes, has been disrupted. Energy prices and inflation worldwide could spike. Even if it stays regional, everyone will feel economic effects. Bottom line, we are not currently at World War level, but the conflict has the potential to grow if major powers join or if nuclear weapons become involved. Most analysts believe it will likely stay a regional war with global economic consequences, not a global military war. There are actually three deeper reasons this conflict exploded now, and they go back nearly 70 years. First of all, the 1953 coup in Iran. In 1953, Iran had a democratically elected prime minister, Mohammad Mossadegh. He decided to nationalize Iran's oil industry, which had been largely controlled by British companies. The US and the United Kingdom feared losing influence over oil resources, Iran potentially moving closer to the Soviet Union during the Cold War. So intelligence agencies from Central Intelligence Agency and MI6 helped organize a coup that removed Mossadegh from power. After the coup, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the Shah, ruled with strong U.S. support. Many Iranians viewed the Shah as installed by foreign powers. This event created deep resentment toward the United States against Iran. Number two, the 1979 Iranian Revolution. In 1979, widespread protests overthrew the Shah. A new Islamic government formed under Ruhollah Khomeini. Soon after, Iranian students stormed the U.S. Embassy, Tehran, and took 52 Americans hostage for 444 days. This event shattered diplomatic relations between the countries, triggered decades of sanctions, made Iran one of the U.S.'s primary geopolitical rivals. From that moment forward, the governments became openly hostile toward each other. Number three, the nuclear and regional power struggle, the 2000s to today. The modern conflict revolves around two big strategic concerns: Iran's nuclear program. The U.S. and many allies worry that Iran could develop nuclear weapons. Iran says its nuclear program is for civilian energy and research. A major agreement called the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, 2015, tried to limit Iran's nuclear activity in exchange for sanction relief. But after the U.S. withdrew from the deal in 2018, tensions escalated again. Regional influence. Iran also supports armed groups and allies across the Middle East, which puts it in direct competition with U.S. partners like Israel and Gulf states. Examples include Hezbollah in Lebanon, various militias in Iraq, and Syria. These proxy conflicts keep the relationship volatile even when the countries are not fighting directly. In simple terms, the tension today comes from three layers of history. 1953 coup, many Iranians distrust the US. 1979 revolution and hostage crisis, relations broke completely. Number three, nuclear program and regional power struggle, ongoing geopolitical rivalry. Those events created decades of mistrust and confrontation that still shape global politics today. Many people imagine Iran as a military giant capable of fighting the United States head to head. In reality, Iran is much weaker in conventional military power, and its strategy reflects that. The country focuses on asymmetric warfare, methods that avoid direct battles with stronger forces. Here's a clearer picture. The US military is vastly larger and more advanced. In a traditional war, the United States has overwhelming advantages. Examples, these are approximate comparisons. Active troops, the US has 1.33 million, Iran has around 610,000. Tanks, US has around 4,600, Iran 1,700. Air power and Navy, the US has far more aircraft carriers, stealth fighters, satellites, and global logistics systems. Overall rankings place the US as the world's strongest military, while Iran is around the mid-teens globally. That means Iran cannot realistically win a conventional war against the United States. I was recently talking to a man that grew up and lived in Iran for many years and came here and got his graduate degree and lives in the US now. And he said, Teresa, we do not have the technology that the US has in Iran. He said, we're about 20 years behind. So that feels much more nervous system regulated to me. It's like, oh, they're not as technologically capable. That feels much more copacetic within my body. And I would hope that would be true for you as well. Number two, Iran compensates with asymmetric warfare. Because it cannot match the US in traditional military strength, Iran built a different strategy. This includes missiles, drones, cyber operations, proxy militias in other countries. Military analysts say Iran has invested heavily in irregular or asymmetric warfare rather than conventional forces. This lets Iran cause damage without fighting the US military directly. Number three, Iran's most powerful tool, regional proxy networks. One of Iran's most important strategies is working through allied groups across the Middle East. Iran's Revolutionary Guard and Quds Force have supported militias and political groups in multiple countries, including Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Palestinian territories. These groups can attack U.S. allies or interests without Iran itself being directly involved, making retaliation complicated. Think of it like a network instead of a traditional army. Number four, militaries and drones are Iran's equalizer. Iran also invested heavily in weapons that are cheaper, but still dangerous. For example, Iran has the largest ballistic missile inventory in the Middle East. It produces large numbers of attack drones. These weapons allow Iran to strike regional bases, threaten shipping lanes, overwhelm expensive missile defenses. Recent conflicts have shown Iran targeting radar and defense systems with relatively inexpensive drones. Number five, the real strategy, make war too costly. Iran's core doctrine is deterrence through pain, not victory. Instead of trying to defeat the US, Iran tries to make war too expensive and chaotic by attacking shipping routes, threatening oil infrastructure, using militias across the region, launching missiles and drone swarms. The idea is to create regional instability that pressures stronger countries to negotiate. This is my conclusion. In simple terms, Iran's strategy is avoid direct war with stronger militaries, use missiles, drones, and proxy groups, spread conflict across the region, raise the cost of fighting Iran. That's why Iran can still be very dangerous even though it is much weaker militarily. And I would invite you to reach out to me to find out more about what I do. Listen to the end of this podcast and you will find out information. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day. Please like, follow, and subscribe here, whatever platform you are using to watch this. Your follow and subscribe allows me to make better quality content for you. I'm going to bring in guests at times. We're going to impact more lives who are suffering from loss and grief. If you think of someone you'd like to share this with, please do so. It will serve them to their highest and greatest good. Thank you for being with me. I'm Reverend Teresa Heipel, Healing with the Rev, and we'll see you next time.